What's up, guys? Spenny. You may love what's going on, you may hate what's going on, but either way, it's going on, and at the very least, it's fascinating to watch and interesting. Is it good or bad? I guess you have to take the good with the bad in order to change the world, and that's what President Trump certainly is. Donald Trump has been banging on probably more about Cuba than about even Iran these days. Donald Trump has been projecting power over the little communist dictatorship 90 miles off our coast. President Trump constantly talks about Cuba and how they are going to get rid of the island leadership,
at the end
communist
of the
leadership,
line.
the end of the line.
They have no money, they have no oil, they have a bad philosophy, they have a bad
Communism.
regime that's been bad for a long time. We're also looking forward
So
to...
Donald Trump openly, not subtly, talking about regime change in Cuba, maybe a friendly takeover. We could have a friendly takeover. They might allow us to take it over. The reason why Donald Trump has this position of power,
and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover,
is because Donald Trump controls all of their oil. They were getting all their oil from Venezuela, all of their food from Venezuela, and now Donald Trump's in control of all of that. There was already a blockade. Cuba is on its last gasp, and hungry people with no power revolt. Doesn't matter how many guns or bullets you have, hungry people will always overtake their government. You must feed your people. You must have the ability to provide for them. And if the government fails on those fronts, and they have already failed on those fronts, I've been to Cuba. It's the worst country I've ever been to in my life. They're this close to toppling. Next one to go is Cuba, says Trump.
We could do them all at the same time, but bad things happen. If you watch countries over the years, you do them all too fast. Bad things. As the best Secretary of State in the country's history,
Marco Rubio.
I don't want him to get too popular.
Look at this. And Trump announces Marco Rubio as the warlord of Cuba here.
I don't want him to get too popular. You know, when they get too popular, all of a sudden you see, where's Marco? He's not around anymore. I don't see him. He's doing some job.
He's in Cuba, Trump says. Well, he actually brought Marco Rubio up to speak fluent Spanish to South American countries, preparing, I think, potentially.
Quiero darle las gracias. I think I'm a good interpreter. You'll find out in a second. But
for
las gracias a los países que están aquí hoy. Estos
is
países.
this Marco Rubio preparing?
Ha hecho esta región una prioridad.
I didn't actually know.
Su administración. Hay muchos presidentes que han dicho que lo van a hacer, pero él lo ha hecho y se lo agradecemos. Y muy agradecido a los 12 países que están aquí hoy. Estos son países que no solamente son aliados, son amigos. Son países que siempre responden cuando hay una necesidad y trabajan en conjunto con nosotros y queda mucho.
Okay. Looks like the preparation is happening. Obviously, Cuba is in a state of absolute revolt already. They're burning government buildings. The power is completely out. They have no more food, no more oil. People are taking to the streets, burning down buildings that belong to the regime after 67 years. The moment is now. Obviously, free Cuba. They have plenty of patriotic support in America. And look at this, a historic moment right here. Cuba's president confirms that the communist government has begun negotiations with America. Well, that's the first time you've ever seen a headline like that. Where's it from? The New York Times. Cuban president acknowledges talks with Trump administration and is the new leader of Cuba among these talks. Is his last name Castro? Get a load of this. President Miguel Diaz-Canel, whose country is rapidly running out of fuel, says the talks were based on respect for the political systems of both countries. Yeah, right. In what is seen as a last-ditch effort to save his hobbled government, President Miguel Diaz-Canel of Cuba, that's particularly savage from the New York Times, wow, announced on Friday that his government is holding desperate talks with Trump, getting on their knees and begging. After severe lack of fuel, Cuba's government is facing an existential crisis. Trump administration ratchets up pressure on the 67-year-old communist state, maintaining what amounts to an oil blockade. Fuel is rapidly running out, plunging Cuba into a prolonged period of darkness. The discussion of the United States previously been reported by U.S. news outlets. The first time the government acknowledged that the talks are underway. Canal had a 90-minute news conference broadcast on state media. They said were aimed at finding solutions for Cuba's differences with the United States. Said the discussions were based on respect Our government's self-determination, LOL, famous last words, no respect when you hear the knock from Delta Force on your door. He said international factors had facilitated exchanges without providing specific. Cuba's foreign minister recently met with the Vatican, top diplomat in Havana. The Vatican Secretary of State said the Vatican had taken the necessary steps to view a dialogue based for the problems that exist. Cuba's government announced on Thursday that it would soon open is open to the release of 51 prisoners. Appeared to be an effort to appease the Trump administration. Mr. Diaz-Canel said the development can be announced on Monday, would greatly facilitate participation of Cubans abroad. The island's economic and social development program. There is no economy. There is no development in Cuba. Again, go there. You can buy a ticket. You can go there right now. It's terrible. It's the worst of the third world. It's so sad because the country used to be just beautiful. Suggesting that the government would allow Cubans overseas to invest in the nation's economy. Exiles in Florida and other places with large Cuban communities have been pushing for that for years. Wow. So you can invest in Cuba now? Like the mob. It's like Godfather 2. Over the past year, Diaz-Canel said that the island's foreign ministry held talk with Cubans abroad to listen to their ideas. He acknowledged that there's been significant exodus of the country, and the number of Cubans overseas has grown. More than 2 million Cubans left the country in the past 5 years, demographics estimate. It's the responsibility of the government to embrace them, participate in economic and social development. He says the power grid was growing increasingly unstable because the country had no oil for 3 months. 2 critical plants exhausted their supplies of fuel. Therefore, a considerable number of megawatts that we were generating, especially during peak and nighttime hours, are lost to the generation system grid every single day. He said Cuba was rushing to expand its solar energy, but the challenges are daunting. Nearly 7,000 homes in Cuba are now connected with solar power. Yay! Electric cars are being used to bring patients dialysis appointments. Oh, what about the Cuban healthcare system? 700 bakeries had converted to wood or fired or charcoal ovens. So quaint. Greta is so excited about this. Diaz-Canel said that in talks with the United States are needed to, in part, to determine the willingness of both sides to take concrete actions and yield results. Oh boy. Okay, so it's actually happening. Cuban president comes begging to Trump. Yikes. Look at that. Wow. Exclusive Trump eyes surprise economic deal with Cuba. Whoa. Things are happening fast. Here's the Cuban president.
Bajo la dirección del general de ejército como líder histórico de nuestra revolución.
This is the dude talking, saying exactly what I just read to you. Cuban government is holding conversations with America. Castro wanted to nuke America. He wanted to nuke. He wanted to use Russian nukes to nuke New York. That's why the Russians ultimately didn't give him real nuclear weapons, because they thought that he was going to actually like just start a nuclear war. It's crazy. So they go on from that to this. Miguel acknowledges that he's already negotiating with the United States, shitting their pants, seeing how Maduro ended up. The Cuban communist rats are going to negotiate their way out. We'll see. No more money going to Cuba. Zero, says Trump. Release 51 prisoners is only possible because of Trump's strong leadership. Trump is about to single-handedly solve all the problems in our backyard in a span of like 14 months. And then this one is very interesting. Diaz-Canel appears to be meeting alongside Raul Castro's grandson. Confirms negotiation with the U.S. government. The first time they have publicly acknowledged that they are holding talks at the highest level. So Castro's grandson, so Raul Castro, so one of the grandkids are there. That's fascinating. Is Donald Trump going to install another Castro in Cuba, but a friendly Castro to America? What a timeline. Miguel Diaz-Canel out as president of Cuba by June 30th. There's a pretty high chance of that. People are buying that. Saying he's gone, right? We'll see. Are they going to, is Trump going to install another Castro in Cuba and then like remake the island? I don't know. Not sure. But we know that it's going to make Greta Thunberg cry. Trump is choking the Cuban people. Yeah, it's not the communist. It's Trump, right? Yeah. Evil little gremlin. Look at her. Yeah, the real human rights violation is what's happening on your head. goblin. Little Swedish goblin. Anyway, this is a historic moment. You should sit back and enjoy it. That's what I'd say. It's your boy Benny.